good evening. Hi, it is Sunday night over here, 25th of May 2025. It's one of those rare occasions where we show up on YouTube. Sunday night, we've been doing it for a very long time, but as you know, if you've been here for a while, mostly I've abandoned YouTube and I'm over at the other platform where I'm a lot more comfortable. But again, the situation is very fragile. But I keep going anyway because I just like doing it, and I really need to vent, so I do it anyway. But tonight, it's Sunday, and usually what we do is we just hang out with a few folks who, some of the ones who show up are usually have been here for many years. Sometimes we just get complete newbies falling out of the sky, and we'll see what happens. What we do on the Sunday night is live mini tarot readings. I shuffle up the deck. I use one of my spreads. I have 3 spreads that I use. And tonight we would just be using the most simple situational spread. It's basically a diagnostic tool. It's like when your car is flickering the engine light and something's not working properly. You go to an auto tech and they plug in their little black box under the dashboard. They run it through the computer and they tell you, oh my gosh, it's your fuel cap. Oh, it's your mass air sensor. Oh, it's your oxygen supply. It's your fuel supply. Oh, it's the primary computer. Oh, it's the spark plugs. Oh, it's the catalytic converter, whatever it is. And then once you know what it is, you can have a chance to fix it. In other words, you have to reveal it to heal it, which is basically stuff that I say all the time on this channel anyway. So let me just see if there's anybody here at all. Maybe I'm just talking to the wind. I don't know. There's somebody here. Anyway, I'll just give me a second here. So if anyone's interested and they're watching, but they're not signed in or anything, I don't know how everybody works differently. Some people subscribe, some people watch without subscribing. Commercials and no commercials. This is demonetized. If you are interested in making a donation, do not use Super Chat. Okay? It'll never get here. YouTube does not. Anyway, let's shut up about that. Over here, so this is the TarotLumination main website. And from here, you can scroll around, browse around, and find the donate page, and there's a donate button, and you click that, maybe on another device or something, and it will bring up a payment processor through PayPal. But you don't have to have PayPal, not as far as I know, and you can just scroll down to use a credit debit card situation, and just like online shopping. And that's how people make their donations. So that's how that works. I don't see anybody in the chat, so I have absolutely no idea if anyone's here or not, really. Love Triber's there. Hello, Love Triber. Thanks for coming to visit and hang out. I'm just going to keep the show rolling for a little bit, because sometimes it takes a long time for notifications to go out or people to remember that we have a little show on Sunday night. Also, of course, there's usually a delay or a big delay between what I'm doing in the studio to what the viewer is getting on their screen minutes and many minutes later. And I don't have any control over that, obviously. When I'm on my other platform, some of you know I speak very openly about things that are of great interest to me. And I don't do that on here on YouTube anymore, because everybody who does that is basically getting shut down, because it goes against the, let's say, I think they call it the narrative that these huge corporations like to portray to the world. Brainwashing, or whatever you want to call it. Very subtle, very, very powerful. So I don't operate in that world. I'm very aware of it and I observe it very carefully, but I don't like to become a victim of that stuff, and I have been a victim of those, let's say, behaviors many times. It gets really old and tedious, but I'm still here. Back in the glory days of YouTube, the subscriber list, the memberships and patrons were growing at thousands per month, and I thought I was a rock star. And then it kept going like that until it didn't. And then it was all over. But I kept going anyway. It mostly just becomes a charitable service, but with a few donations here and there, I can enjoy myself here, and I hope I can bring pleasure and illumination to the viewer or the client, or whoever the person is getting a mini reading. Well, it looks like I just got a booking. I'll have to check through the mail here. Let's see. Okay, go over here. Clickety click, click, click. Yes, excellent. Thank you. Oh, look, there's Love Triber. Hello, Love Triber. Thank you for the kind donation. You are going to get a mini reading. I had a few people contact me through the week when I'm not broadcasting here on YouTube, and that's folks who've been with this little channel community for many years. So it's very nice to be contacted. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. I'm hoping some of you guys might show up tonight. If not, it'll just be an extremely short show, and we'll have a little bit of fun anyway. Mr. Ross. How's it going over there in sunny New Mexico with all those crazy politicians? And let's see. I just better shut up. I'm not going to say anything. You know what happens, Gregory, when I start talking, my mouth starts moving a little bit too much, and that's when everything gets into trouble. That happens very, very quickly. There's a channel that I like called Suspicious Observers. His name is Ben Davidson, and he's a catastrophist. He's a very advanced, let's say, space scientist, and he operates at the same level as the NASA people and other scientists all around the world. And Ben prides himself on taking all the scientific publications that come out regarding outer space, the sun, the planets, the solar system, the warming up of our beautiful planet, all the crazy things to do with solar flares, and all the weird chemicals that fall out of the sky, and all these subjects that are very in line with my own philosophy. But his is very, very specialized, and he's mostly attuned with space science. There was one episode where he mentioned the words astronomy, and how astronomy is a very specific science. It's, tracks the planets, the stars, the solar systems, the galaxies, and all the behavior of these entities like supernovas and black holes and everything. And then he went on about something else, and he mentioned the subject of astrology. But then he kind of went, yeah, I don't know. So I felt a little bit shamed at that point, but I keep going anyway. Oh, look who just showed up. Necessary Truth. Okay. So isn't that interesting? I happen to know, because of years of experience together with our little club here, I happen to know that Love Triber is a reader herself. I am a reader. I use tarot cards, and I do astrology. Gregory Ross is also a reader, mostly self-contained, but he uses tarot cards, sort of like I do. And then there's Necessary Truth, who is a psychic medium. Oh boy, very, very controversial. That's one of those people who deal with all that fuzzy stuff where you can't touch anything. Where is it all? Who is that? Is that my great-grandmother? Is that my old Dalmatian from when I was a little kid? Oh, is that my archangel speaking? Oh, is it my nephew who passed away 10 years ago? So that's the world of Necessary Truth. Hi, Necessary, I see that. Yeah, I like to build up my collections of backgrounds. What I have to tell you folks, what I really love doing is outdoor live streaming on my phone. Of course, you have to have a very good phone, very good signal. You have to be near, you either have to have a very good cell service with good towers here, there, and everywhere so you don't lose your signal. And then you can do all these walkabouts. You can go hiking into nature on rivers and lakes and forests. And of course, I love to do that. Over here, this is part of Hamilton Gardens. Hamilton Gardens is one of the most beautiful, manicured, professional, let's say, public gardens in the world. And I used to visit New Zealand, well, as much as I could, because I love it there. And I used to stay with friends who lived maybe 5 minutes away from Hamilton Gardens. So it was a pretty easy fix for me to head over there and go walking around. Can you imagine walking around in an environment like this, just completely saturated with nature, plants and animals, flamingos, turtles, fish ponds, doves, all sorts of like park animals. Excuse me, allergies. And of course it's very green and luscious, as you can tell. And I like to remind myself of all those things. Also, here's something that I forgot about, because I've had a very nomadic, vagabond kind of lifestyle, living out of a couple of suitcases and a backpack, which is basically what I have today, plus my computers and studio, one guitar, 2 bicycles, and some clothing. And there's my life. But I live very well anyway. Who knew? Yeah, so gardens are absolutely wonderful. Also, I used to live way out in the countryside in southern England, and it's just like this as well. We lived in a little cottage when I was a very young lad, and it was built in the 1700s, and I did a lot of work with my father and brother to renovate the cottage, make it very habitable and beautiful. So it had, refurbished heavy pine floors, huge, enormous stone fireplaces, huge, thick stone walls, this thick, chimneys here and there, upstairs, downstairs, a cellar, and outside was just lots and lots of nature. And then you head out the front gate, down the little wiggly windy pathway onto the little tiny village road that connects all the 12 houses in the village. And you end up at a place called Durham Park. D-Y-R-H-A-M. Durham Park. It is now on the official National Trust Registry for the whole of England. And it's basically a preserved property. It's very beautiful. There are lots of places like this in England, and I lived literally a 7-minute walk from the backyard gate. And because our tenancy in the village was through friends of friends, and we were connected with the family that owned the old cottages, and this family goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, like to the 1300s, and they still had connections to the village. Anyway, so one of the things that came with the village is that the Lord Blathwaite, Lord and Lady Blathwaite, they basically owned the whole village and the whole park and the Durham Park National Building and whatever it is, and all the hundreds of acres of land around there. And of course that had been going on for generations and generations, you know, because of the British Empire and everything like that. But then the communists and the liberals came in the 60s, 50s and 60s and destroyed everything and started to tax the locals and all the royalties, all the sirs and the ladies, the dukes, the duchesses, the... what's the next one's up? Dukes and duchesses, earls. Anyway, all of them started to get heavily taxed out of their private wealth. And everything became heavily socialist inside England. And a lot of the ancient families just basically picked up and left. They started selling off all their properties and moving to places like Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Austria, anywhere to avoid the British taxes. And then the other thing they started to do was not only sell off the properties, but bequeath them, basically give them to the country. It's a gift to the country, so there's no more tax on the property. And so I enjoyed that, and I was given, my whole family, where we were given privileged access, because you're basically part of us now. You can go in and out of the park whenever you want. Okay, just help yourself, have fun. And so that's what we did. I treated myself to the park as though I was Sir So-and-so, or the Duke of so-and-so, or Lord so-and-so, because that's what it felt like. And it was like this everywhere, and it was just a pleasure. Not on top of this, we also had peacocks. Anyway, so it sounds like a fantasy land, but it wasn't. It's real. Anyway, I'm glad you appreciate the backgrounds. It's kind of like a fantasy setup, because reality is very, very different. You know, some YouTubers, they have very elaborate, fancy live studios, and they don't use the complex type broadcast systems that I have here. They keep it very, very simple, but very upscale. And, you know, multiple cameras all positioned. They have editors and all of that kind of stuff. We don't do that here. Sorry. Anyway, let's have a look. Who's here? Who's here? Bubba, are you thirsty? Uh-oh, Bubba's thirsty. Hold on. Give me a second. It's a wild animal. Come on, Bubba. Come and have a glass of water. Come and hang out with us. Oh, you're so dopey. Oh, boy. There's Bubba. Look. Hi, Bubba. Bubba's very dopey right now. He just lived through several hours of torture because I was preparing food, and it smelled absolutely delicious, and it was driving him absolutely bonkers. And he's one of these creatures. He suffers because the smell of the food is not the same as the taste of the food. And I would cut off little tiny chunks and bits and pieces so that he could taste things. And he would give it a taste, but it's not cat food. But that's the same as it is with a lot of foods anyway. Like a cup of coffee doesn't taste anything like the way it smells. A cigarette or a cigar doesn't feel anything like the way it smells. And so I'm sad to say I'm guilty of torturing Bubba this afternoon. And he's so pissed at me because I tortured him with all these smells, but he wasn't able to eat any of it. Anyway, he knows we're talking about him. He knows. And, you know, if he gets that way, it makes him, he basically feels as like nobody loves me, nobody understands. But I do my best, don't I, Bubba? We make up for it other times. All right, let's have a look at the chat, see if I can see. Butchart Gardens in Victoria, Canada. I've heard of that. Oh, necessary. So necessary. You're talking about identify yourself. Who are you? You're talking about spirits. Okay, I get it. Oh, Bubba, are you gonna go down? You gonna have a drink of water or what? Oh boy, he's very, very dopey right now. He's kind of like in the same condition as I am. He seems to be very sensitive to the planets, almost in the same way that I am. And it's a bit of a curse in some ways. Like my brother, for example, it wouldn't matter whether the moon was here or Pluto was there or Saturn was there or Jupiter's there. My brother is like a rock. Very, very stable, self-sustaining from the inside out, extremely robust, and very good at handling three-dimensional life on this planet. Very different to the way I was built. Anyway, I don't know if you've noticed, we're coming up to a Gemini new moon. We're coming up to, oh, Victor! Oh, Victor! Yay, hey, thanks for dropping by. So I'm going to be doing a few, I got a booking for a tarot reading in a minute, but let's, okay, Bubba's heading out, he's exploring something. Let me go to the charts. Now that Victor showed up, let's have a look at the chart. This is today's chart. And it's pretty extreme. Okay, we have this very powerful, harmonious aspect here. Looks like a green triangle. We have a trine with the Aquarius to Gemini. We have the sextile from Gemini to Aries. We have the sextile from Aquarius to Aries over here. So it's very powerful and beneficial and beneficent. But mostly it's just very powerful, especially when it comes to sacred opportunity, which is these double sextiles here. So like with all the planets and all the energy of our solar system, it's up to us what we do with that energy and how we respond. And what I'm noticing is that dealing with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, we're looking at things at a historic level, at a monumental scale for the whole of planet Earth. And I think more and more people are waking up and realizing that. It's global transformation, global revolution, chaos, and more revolution. Those are the themes. Love Triber, how does that chart affect you as your sun in Aquarius? Love Triber, Cancer rising. Well, if we did it like this, okay, if we did it like this, you would see that you're heading up. If I put it as a solar chart with Aquarius as the first house, the solar chart would indicate you've got a 20-year journey of very, very deep, slow, profound transformation ahead of you. Mostly about liberating yourself from very, let's say, ancient, redundant patterns and ways of being. And even for an Aquarius, yearning for freedom from whatever is limiting you. Also over here, you got this massive transition of Saturn and Neptune now entering your third house, Aries, okay? world of communications, commerce, and trade, and it's a tremendous opportunity to, let's say, upgrade. Really, really upgrade. Every time that you, let's say, accidentally let yourself down in terms of communications or interactions with people, commerce, basically the commerce or interaction of between yourself and the rest of humanity in the form of people, when you do it right, you'll be rewarded. If you step out of line with the energy of Saturn, then you might feel punished. Over here we've got the Gemini new moon, which is going to be very sweet and comfortable for the Aquarius types. Hi, Bubba. Did you have a nice slurp? Oh my God, you guzzled all that stuff. Well done. So anyway, so new starts and new beginnings over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in your, what I call, solar 5th house, which would be the energy of things like having fun, adventure, great ideas for, let's say, do-it-yourself business and startups, and taking charge, taking leadership in that sort of way, where you kind of play to your strengths and you present yourself in the best way possible, like making yourself very presentable to the world. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. And then with the Leo energy, of course, you might feel as though there are mysterious forces that are, let's say, making it difficult to achieve your goals. Okay? Because the Leo energy would be opposing your natural Aquarius energy, wherever that lies. Okay? Anyway, let's go back to the chat for a moment. Well, if you wanted to look at that, that's 3 more readings. Okay, let's just move on for now. I'm not really doing an astrology show tonight. I'm going to use this for reference in case people need it. I want to mention a few things for Victor. So Victor, as you can see, I'm not specifically highlighting the huge financial extreme gyrations that are going on across planet Earth right now, but that would be this axis here. Let's see where the moon is over here. So what was it? The moon was in Scorpio 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, like just over 2 weeks ago. Okay, and at that time, for a few days leading up to Scorpio and a few days after, we were getting these monstrous headlines from all over the world about, global financial crises, implosions. It's the end of the dollar. It's the beginning of China taking over the world. We're going to have a new gold standard. No, it's going to be the Bitcoin standard. America is going to go broke. The debt is going to explode, and on and on and on. Every kind of financial nightmare that you can imagine. And yet again, here we go in America. Tick-tock, we're just ticking along. Everything's okay. And of course, all the tariff stories and the trade wars and how trade wars turn into currency wars. Oh my God, oh my God. And then we had Moody's just the other day, along with Fitch and Standard & Poor's, doing the degrading of America. Well, let me show you something now we're here. This is just nothing to do with tarot readings, but I thought this would be fun. I just found this the other night. Let me see if I can find it again. Okay, I don't know if I can do it. Hold on. How did I do this last time? List of countries and their credit ratings. Oh, sorry, I'll do it again. List of countries and their credit ratings. Okay. this might work. I had a really funny. Let's try this one. 198 countries and 40 sovereign entities. Let's see. Maybe this will. That's maps. I want the list. Oh, here it is. This might be it. Yeah, here we go. Have a look at this, Victor. Did you get to see any of this stuff? Okay, so you can sort of see these credit ratings. Moody's, they're using Moody's. There's also Fitch. There's also Standard & Poor's. But at the very bottom, we've got Afghanistan. And oh, they're doing it alphabetically. Oh, no, that's not good. Sorry. Anyway, so let me just get to the point of the little story for Victor here. So I thought, oh God, this is such a huge freaking yawn. Oh yes, so to me it's a huge freaking yawn. So if you look at a chart from the top to the bottom of countries and their credit ratings, it goes like AAA, and then AA plus, and then A plus plus, and so on and so on. And the whole idea is just like you, if you have credit cards or a car payment or a mortgage, all of your ability to sustain your debt and your loans goes through your credit ratings agencies like Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. That's, for companies, corporations, and people. And it's all over America, and a lot of Americans are born and raised to believe that to be the best person that you can be on earth, you have to have the highest credit score. But that's on the belief that you have to live a life based on debt. So I think it's kind of hilarious because I don't operate in that world, but I still like to observe. Anyway, so Moody's and Fitch and Standard & Poor are these rating agencies, but it's for countries, okay? And so if you look at the list, at the very top, it's what you would expect, like Switzerland, Liechtenstein, a couple of places in Europe, and then America, Australia, New Zealand. They're all pretty high up at the top. And then after that, it starts to fall off really kind of quickly to countries, and eventually you get to the bottom end where these are countries that are tyrannical, chaotic, anarchic, communist hellholes. But anyway, America is used to having a AAA rating at the very top. Even though we carry like $38 trillion of debt, nobody seems to care. Anyway, I think there's a scandal going on because, as you know, there's a bunch of globalists who are doing everything they can to destroy America from the inside out. And what better way to do that than to destroy the currency? Ha 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 ha. So I think they thought, let's just do it. Come on, let's start the domino fall. Let's downgrade America. I mean, they're being so irresponsible. So Moody's downgrades to A, whatever it is, AA plus. Oh my God, and the stock market goes berserk, sell off, sell America, sell America, sell America. In other words, they're trying to stimulate a run on the dollar to make the world think that the dollar is going to implode tomorrow. Okay, so you have to understand things in terms of relativity. Okay, so let's just say the stock market does go from here to here. Let's say the USA credit rating does go from here to here. What about all the other countries? They're in worse condition. They should get re-rated, and all of those countries would go from wherever they are here. Let's say this is that country's rating, then they're going to go from here to here. If they're telling you right now Germany is way at the top with Switzerland and Liechtenstein, Anyway, so I think they're kind of a huge scam, personally, and it's pay to play. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Big Short. It was all about the 2008 crisis and how the rating agencies had this very, very incestuous relationship with corporations in the stock market and the index funds like the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Dow, and so on and so on. So it's all rigged. Everything is rigged. So luckily, Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, just ignored the whole thing. It's just like, it's meaningless, people. It's meaningless. So anyway, I hope you didn't get scared or hurt by the downgrade. Anyway, you know, thank you, Victor. That's my point. It's all relative. Everything's based around the dollar, no matter what. And sure, Switzerland is awesome. Liechtenstein is probably awesome. But all of their currencies are contingent upon the health of the American dollar. Duh! Anyway, they're not going to tell you that stuff on a lot of channels. They're just trying to scare the shit out of people for the hell of it, to try and stimulate the destruction of America. Well, it's not working very well. Anyway, you know what? We should get on with this reading because Love Triber is fully booked. All right. So let's clear the stage here. Well, we may use this as a reference. I don't know. Here's our little deck. Let's put this aside. So as you can see, I just marked here, this is the Gemini new moon that's coming tomorrow. I don't know about you people, but every time I come 2 or 3 days into the new moon, I feel very dopey, kind of depressed, miserable, lifeless, pointless, meaningless, just like somebody pulled the plug, you know, and then, oh God. And then it all picks up again a few days later. Hello, Ivona. So anyway, right now we're just coming into it. So personally, I'm in a relative deep lull. Also, we're going through some big shifts here. We're still at the crisis point, Pluto retrograde. And Saturn has just entered Aries. And Mercury's going to enter Gemini tomorrow and the day after. So, enjoy the momentum. Enjoy the ride. I'm going to tuck these away. And let's get set up for Love Triber mini reading. Alright, let's we're doing this live real time. It's just like I do when I'm with people in person. Okay, let's see. There we go. So there's your magic post-it note. All right. Cheers, everybody. Hold on. What's that note there? Exactly what I was saying for a long time. You buy crypto with dollar, you cash out with dollar. Yep. Crypto is based on, but crypto has to have a dollar reference. So that's how it's numerically measured. The price of Bitcoin is measured in dollars. Thanks, Victor. See you next week, hopefully. I do have a lot more to say about the money stuff, Victor, but that'll probably have to be another show. Or maybe you could come and visit me during the week over on the other platform. Okay. All right, Love Triber, here we go. What kind of messages do we have here for Love Triber tonight? Something that you wouldn't hear from anywhere else. Friends, family, doctors, therapists, pets. All right. One last shuffle. I'm not doing any reversals, not doing any oracles. If anyone's out there and they've never seen this or done this before and you want to get a mini reading, just do this. Go to TarotLumination.com, find the donate page, click the donate button, open up the payment processor, and shop like you would on online shopping networks. Scroll down, pick debit or credit card, and then just do the transaction. Donate, of course, the more the merrier. Oh, it works like this, by the way. The bigger your donation, the more favorable your reading. I'm just kidding. Okay. Sorry, that was rude. I cannot be bribed, okay? You could give me $1,000 donation and I could still end up giving you a shitty, horrible reading that you wouldn't want to hear. I'm sorry about that. I'm like Elon Musk. Remember that. He cannot be bribed. Just so that you know, the reason I'm saying that. Oh, you donated. Okay. Oh, you donated. Oh, okay. Well, let me see. Let's make sure. Okay, I'm going to make sure you've got your post-it note here. Thank you, necessary. I was not aware. Okay, here we go. All right, there's yours, okay? Alrighty. All right. Okay, so everything looks very innocent, but I know you can't see them here in the studio or on the cameras or anything, but we are surrounded by our invisible friends because they love doing this stuff. I have my own team, my own family, and I have, let's say, a kind of a vivid, let's say, multi-dimensional experience in my life, and that's just my day-to-day routine. I just sort of take it all for granted. I used to be in denial many years ago because it was so frightening before I kind of got comfortable with the great beyond. Now the great beyond is my normal status quo, and in contrast, the material three-dimensional existence is very, let's say, nebulous. So it's a complete turnaround. All right, no tax on spiritual tips. Ha 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 ha. That's good. TL, read notes from above. Okay, I will do that. Thank you. Let's do Love Triber's note reading. Okay, here we go. Already well shuffled. So, if people are just showing up, this is my situational spread. It's basically a simple, pure, very simple, but very broad spectrum diagnostic tool. Same as going to an auto technician. They just take the little black box, plug it in under the dashboard, comes up with computer signal messages. You interpret that. And then you go and, you figure it out. Oh, now I know what the problem is. Now I can heal it. There you go. Here we go. So let's have a look. Let's see what's going on. This is totally blind. It's so much fun that way, isn't it? You never know what's going to come up. All right. So here's the situation. Here's the challenges. And here's how we're going to handle things going forward. Now remember this chart, folks. Right now we're doing a reading for Love Triber, but this affects everybody on Earth. Every planet. Sorry, every plant. Every fish, every tadpole, every whale, every human, every giraffe. All of it. We're all impacted by these energy fields. It's just raw, pure, simple electromagnetic energy. By the way, just for fun, before we dive in here, I found an amazing story the other day in one of my explorations around scientific stuff, because I did sciences when I was a kid. All I did was math, physics, chemistry, and biology, and astrophysics, if you can believe that. Yeah. And I had my little telescope. But anyway, some scientists, the whole of humanity has been puzzling about spirit and soul and multidimensional existence since we existed. We've always felt that there's something else out there. Now, of course, if you're a communist, that stuff doesn't exist. They don't have religion, they don't have faith, they don't have anything except raw obsession for power, money, and control here in this three-dimensional lifetime. Everything else, poppycock. Anyway, so, literally every cat. So these scientists just kept pushing the technology as far as they could. And what they discovered is that they would take an embryo, and this is in a laboratory, okay? So whether you're using little rats or mice or cats or human, whatever it is, they take an embryo and they artificially fertilize it. And you've seen those little charts, those little diagrams. There's the little sperm coming along, bumps into the embryo, goes boing! And suddenly the embryo is at the very first step of forming a new life, a new person. And what they noticed was that there were these little anomalies around the outside of the embryo. And they focused more and more and took more and more powerful equipment, and they realized it's photons. It's light. Light is measured in photons. It's a form of electromagnetic radiation. And they started to detect these faint glows of photons. And it turns out they extended their scientific exploration a little farther, and they found that all living things emit photons. But they're very, very faint, very, very tiny. When there is something very traumatic, like spontaneous traumatic, an incident to the body, there's a sudden burst of photons. Not happy though. When somebody is given some amazing good news, there's another burst of photons. And they can detect these bursts. And of course there's the status quo, where let's say you're just taking a nap, or you're just having lunch, or you're just meditating or doing nothing in particular, then the photon level drops to its status quo. And of course, I kept feeling like, well, of course they're talking about auras. It's obvious. It's auras, people. I already know that auras can be seen because I wrote a little book about it, or at least a few chapters in a book about it. But it has not been published, at least not yet. Anyway, auras are real things, and they sort of resemble the same visualization or sensation that I receive when I perceive my invisible friends, angels, archangels, and all of that. To me, it's very, very visual and very specific. And there's a lot of communication done through body language. It's an amazing phenomenon, and I take it all for granted. I feel very, very blessed. But I'm very glad that this has been scientifically measured. It's the spiritual spark. Yeah. So people with schizophrenia have very, very fragmented photons that come out. And people who are very, very, let's say, pure, clean, and loving, they tend to have very broad, very smooth, gentle, even auras, sort of like a long-haired cat. Have you ever seen those little white cats? They have very long hair and their hair sticks out really far. Now imagine that color, instead of white, imagine it more like a very soft pink or a soft light blue mixed in with shimmery golds and things. That's one of the most like serene, sublime types of loving energy. More spiritual awareness tends to, from my experience, tends to show up more as blue, light blue, peacock color blues, those kinds of things. But when people are conflicted or murderous or very dark, then the aura, it still comes out in his aura, but it looks, it's not pretty. Let's put it that way. I don't dwell on this stuff all the time. I don't turn it into a business or anything like that. It happens according to divine ordination, and I just accept it for the way it is. And if you sense someone or something and it's not right and that's not good, trust your senses, because what you are detecting is their aura. If they are evil or very sick or broken or damaged inside, and they have no control over their own energy, their own aura, and they are projecting without any awareness or responsibility, that can turn into very bad news. So if you are sensing it, just remove yourself. Don't allow yourself to get sucked in. Just remove yourself, take yourself away. You don't want to be around any of that stuff unless you're a professional and it's your job to go in there and do healing. All right. Okay, let's get on with your reading. Sorry. Jeepers. All right. All right, love driver, here we go. Brace yourself. Sit on your hands if you have to. Here we go. Here's the situation. Well, life is changing, definitely. So I equate this very much to do with the astrological aspects that everyone is feeling right now, because it's unavoidable. You might not like it or want it or know it, it doesn't matter. It's happening anyway. Profound transformation is happening. And okay, think of your life as a soap opera, or think of your life as a Netflix series, and it has different seasons, season 1, 2, and 3, and each season has 8 episodes. If you think of your life in that format, you're entering a major new, let's say, season where radical, profound, deep, slow-moving changes are going to happen to you. Well, not going, they are happening to you. It's been building up for a while, but it's taking on full momentum here. And it might make you feel like deep inside, like, oh, what's that soap opera, famous one from many years ago, As the World Turns? Like, you don't know what's going to happen next. It's a permanent, perpetual soap opera. But in this case, for you, Love Triber, it's more like the beginning of a whole new season. And there's no particular right or wrong with how this is going to play out. And all sorts of scenarios might be apparent to you. Like if you close your eyes and blink, or if you like to meditate or dream or allow yourself to astral travel and those kinds of things in order to access the great divine and get a glimpse into your world and how it's transforming, this is probably what you would see. You would see the elements of earth, air, fire, and water. And what does that look like? Wow. And then you realize decision making is very, very important here. You can either treat this as a massive surf wave and let it take you wherever it wants to take you, or you can, let's say, orient yourself in such a way that you become an active participant in the way that your destiny unfolds. and let's say you have certain ambitions that you've always wanted to attain or re-attain or something like that, then you can actively participate in the decision making in such a way that it's like you can orient this. It's still the same energy field, but it's like you could almost go into a prayer mode and say, you know what I'd really like to do, since this is an amazing opportunity for recalibrating and everything like that. Let's spin the wheel. I'm not talking about gambling or casinos or anything like that. Black, red, black, red, black, red, black, red. It's more about lining it up, dialing things in such a way that they work for you. So in other words, let's say you can switch the dial around and you're playing with this psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and you just move the dial around and you think, ooh, that felt good. I got good resonance over there with those thoughts, feelings, decisions, projections. Okay, make a note of that. Let's keep playing. Ooh, that feels really good. I'll make a note of that one here. Oh, and then ooh, no. Oh, I don't want to do that. I already did that. It was horrible. Forget it. Move on. Okay? All right, now, what are the challenges here? Okay, so with the Empress in this position, you might be feeling a little bit less than. Even though to me this is very good news, the reason you might be feeling a little bit less than what? Less than your absolute supreme, awesome goddess self, then that would be okay. Because honestly, these events, these things are very, very challenging for all of us. Now, before I go any further, I forgot to look at the external influences. And how is that going to impact you? What does it look like? What is the nature of that energy field? Let's have a look. Kerblam. Aw, you're so lucky. You're so blessed. My gosh. Okay? So, with the Ace of Cups here, it makes me feel like this is out there. It's permanently, perpetually available to you. The question is, how, let's say it's just like a faucet, like a tap or whatever, and you're realizing, oh my God, it's there, it's perpetual, it's all the time. That's really, really cool. And it's there for me. It's infinite supply. It's there for the whole world. And right now, the Ace of Cups energy, if you want to put it through a lens or a filter, it would come out like this. So in other words, the way I see this is that this astrological chart right now, aligning very much with the Gemini new moon, looks like new starts and new beginnings for you to tap into, let's say, new projections, expectations, plans, ideas for a new life ahead, new starts, new beginnings ahead, maybe with private enterprise, with business, with hobbies, crafts, whatever, and trusting that you're being, let's say, again, if you align this with what I described here regarding this calibration thing, then when you move around, when you remember, okay, Love Triber, energy flows where attention goes. And if you're focusing all your attention on such and such a thing or energy field or something, and it's depleting or it's not healthy, something's not working for you, then this is an amazing chance to reset and go, oh, I want something that does work. And you will know, because it'll feel awesome. It'll feel, you'll get the tingles. It'll feel like, oh, the healing power of love is moving through my life. It might not be in the way that you expect, but it's a way that is ultimately good and healing for you. I'm not talking about romantic love here. I'm talking about love in the most pure essence of just divine, beautiful energy. So, so with the Empress over here, you might be questioning your magic, your ability to manifest this energy here on such a massive scale. Because my feeling is here that these are big, powerful cards, and in a way it's not fair on yourself to set yourself up with massive self-expectations for certain types of outcomes. My sister taught me long ago, don't expect anything and you won't be disappointed. However, if you have extreme high expectations because you've already had some amazing life experiences that really correlate to being an empress, whether you were treated that way or whether you carried yourself that way or whether you were raised that way, no matter, that empress energy is very deeply bedded into your core nature, and you might feel as though it's a little bit less than, like, oh my God, how am I going to cope in this massive shift of the universal energies that are basically like electromagnetic fields that are affecting planet Earth right now? Everything, everybody. Am I really up for it? Can I really handle it? Is it really going to happen for me? Understandable. We all question ourselves. Let's see how we're going to move forward. Okay, so with the Five of Swords, my feeling is that this is an indication of one of the settings here. Okay, one of the settings here, there's going to be, it's almost there's going to be this permanent glitch. Like you keep going around, check this, check that. There's going to be this, like, almost like a constantly recurring glitch where it feels like, oh, damn, I always seem to come up against a dead end or some kind of harsh limitation. It's not fair, it's not fair. On the other hand, it is a signal that's helping you to fine-tune your life. So with the Five of Swords here, my feeling is that if you have like very, let's say, rigid expectations, outcomes, perspectives on the world, and how, let's say, regarding your perspective and your evolution and your newly evolving life path in the world, so that you become your better, most awesome, wonderful Empress self, this might feel like, somebody's trying to stop me. If somebody or something is trying to stop you, remember the laws of attraction. It might be that you're radiating something that is self-limiting, and then that is being reflected back to you externally. And it feels like it's something or someone else is stopping you, but in fact it's you trying to prove a point to yourself. Okay, so the Five of Swords is almost like, in the world of communications, we're talking about futility. What is the point in trying to prove your point to someone or something that doesn't give a crap about you or your point or your health and well-being or your happiness? And yet, at the same time, you're taking it personally. Let's say, well, it could be any kind of circumstances. Maybe you can reinterpret that for yourself. But if you find yourself getting tangled up in conversations with yourself or with certain, people, strangers, and it triggers your natural defense mechanism to respond, oh no, oh no, 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 oh no, no. In other words, there's no point in trying to it's almost like don't waste your energy on people who don't deserve your energy. Don't waste your energy trying to wake people up to what you already know, because in some ways you're already an advanced being. You've already transcended a lot of issues in life where you realize, oh, that aspect, that, they're actually only secondary issues of life. The things that are really, really important are these. and dignity, selfhood. So also remember here, let's put the astrology back here just momentarily. The Saturn-Neptune combo is going to be here for a little while, okay? In the first house, Aries energy over here. So that would affect you in different ways, you know, if you use the Capricorn chart here, or you use the Aquarius chart here. But what it's saying is that because it's Aries, it's almost like the Saturn-Neptune energies cancel each other out. When in some ways Saturn can manifest the beauty and the idealism and the dreams of Neptune. Okay, that's scenario one. The exact opposite is possible, where the Neptune energy can just dissolve all the three-dimensional manifestations that coulda, woulda, shoulda occurred. So it can be very frustrating. And that's very, very difficult to navigate. Neptune and Saturn conjoined, it's going to feel like that. So in Aries, it's going to feel like, oh, I figured out who I am, how I am, where I am, why I am, when I am, and with who I am to be. That's my new love driver, okay? And then moments later, going forward with that new awareness, you get challenged. It's just like, wait a minute, that's not fair. Stop pissing on my parade. It's just like if people are challenging or take you down. On the other hand, if you're very, let's say, if you're very idealistic, Saturn comes along and says, okay, that's great if you can maintain that idealism, but don't forget it can be very hard to manifest. I'll help you as much as I can. Okay? So going forward, it looks like you're very blessed in your own way, and you already know that, but you don't want to waste it, because it's energy, and the life force can be depleted so easily and so quickly. And then you realize, God, it's freaking gone forever. And then this energy shrinks. It makes you start to feel less than and less than, less than, less than, less than, less than. But with the Five of Swords here, it's just like, oh, you have to remember that sometimes we get ourselves tied up in our own knots, especially if we're trying to prove a point to people or a person that is not receptive. And it's not, you don't have to convert people. You don't have to convert people to come to your way of thoughts and ways of being for you to be happy. You can just literally mind your own business, take care of yourself, and then this sort of dissolves. You don't actually have to worry about it. But if it comes at you, if somebody or something's coming at you, makes you feel like you have to, let's say, respond with communications to prove that you are right, it's futile. There's no point. So let's just leave it at that. Okay? I hope that made a little bit of sense here. I'm just going to do another illustration. Okay, here's an example. There's no point in screaming and ranting if you're talking to the mainstream media, and that mainstream media is already known for hogwash, propaganda, brainwashing, lies, deception, betrayals, distractions. We already know that. And trying to fight it and waste energy to contest it is futile and it's wasteful. So it's not even worth bothering. Sure, be aware, observe, but don't absorb. That's what Patera says, okay? Observe, but don't absorb. Don't allow yourself to get sucked into unwinnable wars, unwinnable conversations, unwinnable negotiations. It's futile. And that will help you. All right, anyway, let's move on. Okay, I got to break this up here. Next up is Necessary Truth. All right, let's have a look here. We're going to shuffle up. I need a moment, okay? Let's have a look here. Give me a moment. To myself as I get through the okay. Let's have a look here. So I'm going to scroll back, and you told me to go back and look at the chats. So, where are we? Oh, is that? Okay, that's not it. I'm going through the chat. I'm scrolling back. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. I don't have it. Okay. Oh, that's good. I see your notes there. You want me to do a reading for Donald Trump? Gosh, I think that's a little bit dangerous. I'm setting myself up there. I guess it could be fun. Hold on, I gotta think about this. So give me a second. Sorry, I need to. I've done it before. I'm going to confess something here. I've had spiritual encounters with Donald Trump twice. Actually, it might be 3. They're very profound, very pure, and very much Donald Trump. And also, oddly enough, I feel a strong connection with Elon Musk. One of the reasons is because we have some very striking similarities in our charts. And I find it very easy to resonate with Elon Musk and understand his perspectives, his language, his behavior, and so on. He is a very strange, unique character. I don't know if anybody saw the notes. You know what? Let's do a reading for Elon. That could be fun. Actually, you know what? No, let's do it. We're going to read for Trump. It makes me feel a little bit anxious, but that's okay. The reason I'd rather read for Trump is because He needs every bit of help he can get right now, and maybe it'll help us to understand his behavior. So with Elon, as you know, his own personal companies have had some extreme shocks recently because of Elon getting involved in politics, for better or worse. I think it's fantastic. I'm extremely grateful. He's probably the only person on earth who could have done what he did. However, he made extreme sacrifices along the way. And most of that was to do with his businesses. So he has, Tesla, the Boring Company, Starlink, what's the space company, X, and Neuralink. He's got basically 6 major companies, huge multi-billion-dollar major companies. And I don't know if you noticed it, but yesterday there was a massive global outage, internet across the whole world, but mostly with, let's call it, the more Western type countries: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, North America, United States, parts of Western Europe, were all heavily affected by a massive, massive blackout. It was very profound over here. It was a very, very specific blackout. I've never seen anything like it. And I was not able to do my show last night on the other platform. In fact, couldn't do anything anywhere. I've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning because I had to do an actual recording and then upload it, and it took an extremely long time, but I did it. And so I have the recording for the 24th on my X platform now, and it's on Rumble now. But it was not possible to do the live stream. When you have internet, let's say this is all the bandwidth that you have coming into your place or coffee shop or whatever. This bandwidth is shared by everybody and everyone, and it's basically like an enormous current, and it feeds into other currents and eventually goes to servers and then all over the world. But in this neighborhood, let's say right here, there's this much bandwidth. This is the amount of bandwidth that's available for internet. So most people are used to a situation where we split it up. About 2/3 of it is allocated to downloads, like streaming videos and Netflix and movies and so on. And the other third part of the bandwidth is allocated for people like me who want to upload stuff. Gamers, streamers, that kind of thing. Podcasters who live stream or upload material for business or whatever. So it's usually about 2/3 to 1/3. And what happened last night in all these places was that the upload section was completely wiped out. It was nothing. It was nothing. Well, it was there. It was about a fraction of a percent. So I'd never seen that before, but it was basically impossible to upload or do a live stream. I'm used to having, internet crashes where the whole thing just goes down. That's one thing. But to have a very healthy download, but zero upload, that's a huge problem. Anyway, of course, Elon Musk was aware because it affected X across the world. And my X was affected too because I was doing tests. And so he decided that that's it. Enough is enough is enough. It's an attack. It's an extremely large-scale, highly advanced attack, either by some extremely capable global nefarious hacker teams, or it was sponsored by a whole country in China. So That made him flip. That's it. I'm done. I have to take care of my companies because they've been heavily damaged because of his activity in the Trump administration and helping the Trump administration to fight tyranny. But Elon Musk has done what he can for now. He still has the Doge team very, very active in Washington, so that's fantastic. But Elon is stepping aside because he's already set up the momentum, the facilities, the abilities, and the protocols for doing all the deep dive Department of Government Efficiency cleanup campaign. And I understand Elon. I really support him. Very strange fellow. Anyway, I know that Donald's going to miss him. Because I'm serious. And let's go back. Let's do the reading for Donald Trump. Now, as you know, Donald Trump is hated by millions of people all over the world. They have TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. It's a real condition now. And people are literally losing their minds, going hysterical, self-harm, projecting all sorts of evil, horrible stuff based on this condition, TDS. And I don't suffer from that. I'm very, very lucky because I like what he's doing. To me, it's all about this, as you know. But I don't want to get into those conversations. Let's just go to take care of a little reading here for Donald. See what happens. So we're going to go for Donald. Elon is going to take care of himself right now. He's going to focus all of his energies on his corporations. I don't need to give him a tarot reading for that. Donald Trump is being attacked worldwide because of the tariff trade wars and so on. The extreme gyrations in global currencies for about, whatever it is, however many countries, 140 countries. And a lot of people in different countries, different politics, different religions, different cultures are blaming Donald Trump for anything and everything that's wrong in their life, their world, their country, which is, of course, ridiculous, but that's what's happening. Donald Trump is aware of that, and he's maintaining his posture anyway, because as far as he's concerned, that's their problem. His job is the President of the United States, and it's to make America as awesome as possible, and essentially, ultimately, recalibrate and do a complete factory reset to this. You can't do that overnight. Remember, it's a 250-year cycle to get where we are today from the birth of America, and it's the Pluto return of America. It's the most profound thing in astrology right now, as far as I'm concerned. We've never witnessed anything like this because we never had any way to correlate. But the United States has a specific astrology that's correlated with 4th of July, 1776. And that amazingly gives us the ability to observe from here, because we're living in a piece of history right now where we're witnessing the Pluto return 250 years later, basically 1776 revisited. And Donald Trump has, let's say, incarnated in this particular lifetime to manifest the characteristics and the role of a human person who is supposed to personify the mythological character, to revolutionize, to guide the revolution against the tyrants, the tyranny, and bring America back into alignment. It's a very, very, very heavy burden, but he has taken it upon himself, and he's very proud to do it. And of course, with the assassination attempts and everything like that, he is now firmly and openly humbled, and references God in his life and how he couldn't be who he is doing what he's doing without God. Which is, again, if you go in here It's fundamental to our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence that there is a supreme being based on the Ace of Cups. In other words, pure love. All right, here we go. Let's see. Thank you, necessary. Let's flip this out and let's rewrite it. I'm going to put his name. So brace yourselves. I have no idea what's going to happen here. It's going to be a completely blind reading. So here, let's preface this reading with a couple of assumptions, okay? It might sound ridiculous to you, but as far as I'm concerned, this is perfectly normal. We're going to make assumptions like they do in scientific experiments. We're going to assume a few things, that Donald Trump is able to connect in spirit and he will receive this message. I don't have to deliver it personally or anything like that. It will move through the world of divinity. And he will absorb it without being consciously aware. And we're going to be very lucky to have the insight here. Let's shuffle a little bit more. Okay, so what kind of messages do we have here for Donald tonight regarding his life, his world, his presence, his presidency? I mean, who knows what's going to come up here? I'm hoping I can have a pretty good sense of interpretation. What do we need to know for Donald so that he can, let's say, get the message once we're done here? I'm doing very extreme splits. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it going forward. And let's have a look at external influences. I'm going to default to the planets, of course, because I think the planets are profoundly correlated with the massive historical events that we're witnessing today in America and across the world. This is very, very rare, what's happening astrologically. Let's put it that way. So we have the Two of Pentacles. Okay, so it's very much about money. Okay? On the global scale. Money, 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 because that's what makes the world go round, and everybody on planet Earth is concerned about money. Either whether you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, whether you're a hedge fund manager, whether you run a mom and pop store, whether you are an individual on a payroll, whether you are self-employed as an artisan or an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. It's an energy field. We measure that in terms of currency. In America, we call them dollars, and everybody wants to have as many as they can. And so what's happening with the Two of Pentacles is this is very much profoundly correlated to Donald Trump rebalancing the global economy in such a way that is fair and equitable, with the United States as the reference point, as the pivot point. Okay, if you can see that here, I don't know if you can see that here. Right here. Okay? Over here. I don't know if I can show you properly, but what I'm trying to indicate here, you can't have it too much that way, you can't have it too much that way. For a very healthy global economy, it has to sit like this. And interestingly enough, this would represent America, for example. This would represent the rest of the world, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. But what Donald Trump is essentially dealing with is the energies of power and money and control. In other words, this, okay? Because it's extremely distorted, and it's because of the result of the end of the Pluto cycle, okay? And we've just lived through the Pluto return, the last 5 years especially, where anything and everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and it gave us a massive exposure to the amount of evil and corruption across the world, including America and the inside of America. And that really began in the last quarter, basically the last 62 years, where, for example, look at it this way. When the United States began, it was very, very unstable, okay? Very unstable. And then through the 1700s and the 1800s, America effectively became extremely wealthy, to the point that it was really out of balance with the rest of the world, and it was becoming difficult to export. We could import because we made ourselves extremely wealthy. Anyway, so with the Two of Pentacles here, Donald Trump is dealing with the extremely difficult task of turning something like this into this. Not this. He's not trying to take all the money from the rest of the world and strip the world of all its money and power. That's what China is trying to do. Trump wants fair trade. He wants a balanced economy, a balanced world. It's extremely unbalanced right now. Every other country outside of America, a lot of those countries have benefited, okay? What Trump is trying to do is take the extreme distortions and bring them back into alignment. I'm going to do it like this. It's very, very difficult, but he's probably the only person on earth who can do it. The mechanism is essentially what we call the trade war or the tariffs. It's turning into a currency war because that's sort of inevitable. The trade wars are becoming so brutal and so effective that the world is literally gyrating and convulsing economically, politically. And that's the whole point. That's what Trump wants. That's how you start balancing. So that's what's happening. That's the influence. Donald Trump knows all this going on, knows all this going in. He knew at the very onset that the destabilization of the distorted status quo is going to make everyone outside of America extremely pissed off with their own versions of TDS as America reorients and balances to here. That's it. So that's what we're seeing. China, half of Africa, South America, Central America, the whole of the European Union, they're exploding with rage and TDS because Donald is exposing the truth and reality and demanding fairness and equality. Okay, let's have a look at the situation. Okay, this is incredible. We've got the Seven of Pentacles here. Okay, look at this. This is, I'm absolutely amazed. Necessary, I have to tell you, thank you so much. This is an incredible privilege to do this reading. I feel so profoundly privileged to do this for Donald. Let's all pray that he gets the message. But he already knows this anyway. Let's just say this is for our own edification. So with the Seven of Pentacles here, it's very obvious the situation is that Donald Trump is looking at an extremely messed up America, an extremely messed up world. It's the whole of planet Earth. All these pentacles represent the vast talents, gifts, resources of the world. In other words, artificial intelligence, oil and gas, science, kindness, compassion, healing, healthcare, entrepreneurs, farms and farming, nature, everything that nature provides, all the plants and the animals. It's you can't measure it. It's so many trillions of dollars of abundance, you can't measure it. And there's poor Donald looking at it from the global perspective. It's totally effed up. because it's been not only neglected but heavily abused, and it's now totally wrapped in the weeds. How on earth are we going to do this cleanup campaign? It's mind-boggling. The task, this looks so benign and simple, but this task is so mind-boggling, and it's happening on a global scale. He's looking at it through the global lens. In other words, my God, Japan, it's so full of super hyper intelligent brainiacs and engineering and technical capabilities. Look at all the people over there in Southeast Asia with incredible gifts with their hands, being able to make all the toys and the computers and the garments. It's mind-boggling. Look at all the people developing science and technology and artificial intelligence and all of that. But it's heavily, heavily corrupted. All of that, all of those things outside the pentacles are weeds. Really vicious, nasty, evil weeds. And those weeds are basically trying to take all this stuff for themselves. Hint, hint, simple translation, China. China is the ultimate root of the biggest weed. And the very sad, tragic thing is that the United States, especially companies like Apple, Nike, all the big corporations that threw billions of dollars into China, called it an investment, but what they're trying to do is basically buy access to the slave labor of China. That's what they did. So for example, today, Donald Trump, as you know, is very, very pissed off with Tim Cook from Apple. You have to understand, Apple is an outrageously profitable company. Why is that so? Is it because their iPhones and tablets and their little computers and everything are so spectacular, worth thousands of dollars more than your equivalent HP or Dell or Samsung or, you know, little generic Android phone? No, not really. Some people, you know, worship Apple, but really it's just another phone, and they have as many problems as any other phone. No, the real profitability of Apple is based on slave labor. Okay? They've been doing it for, 20 years in China. They took it to the max, and Apple is being called out. And Apple is still trying to circumnavigate all the tariffs and trade restrictions being imposed by Trump to normalize the world. Apple is setting everything up in India. And basically Trump said, okay, you want to play that game? I'm going to play hardball. You start manufacturing all that stuff just in another slave camp in another country, I'm going to slap tariffs just on Apple. Ha, ha, ha. So Tim Cook is now pissing his pants. And that's just one tiny example of the cleanup campaign that Donald Trump has to do. But Apple is a very big, vivid example. And so Tim Cook is like, oh, no. You can't do that to Apple. It'll destroy our profit margin. If we have to start making these phones and computers and laptops and everything here in America, the average little iPhone is going to be $3,000 or $4,000. And then Trump will basically say, eat it. You've been gorging on slave labor for 20 years. You should have put some of those profits away to redevelop so you could come back here. But instead, you just stuffed your own pockets. Anyway, so we'll see how that plays out. But it's the same story for a lot of other corporations. Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is probably even bigger than Apple. And NVIDIA makes all the super ultra high-end chips, sort of like what they do in Taiwan with TSMC. And Trump is getting very pissed with NVIDIA because NVIDIA is trying to do the same thing as Apple. NVIDIA made a lot of money out of China, And Nvidia is doing you a lot of like rebranding and brand washing to be able to ship stuff into China and avoid the Trump tariffs. Because Nvidia, it's all about profits over people. They don't care if communists take over the whole world. They just want the money now. So Donald Trump, he's just dealing with this amazingly horrific cleanup campaign. And you can't fix that overnight. That's been building up for 250 years, but mostly in the last 62. But the extreme acceleration happened in the last 4 years under Biden. So what are the challenges here? More pentacles. Ha ha, this is an incredible reading. Wow. So for the whole world, for Donald, okay, with the page of pentacles here, Donald, deep down inside, is being taken to the absolute limits of his capabilities. And he's not going to, well, it depends. He's very, very unpredictable with his language because he is a Gemini sun with Uranus in Gemini and the North Node in Gemini. He's notorious for just opening his mouth and saying whatever he wants. And that can be very precarious for some people that are not Donald Trump. Just look what happened to Cyril Ramaphosa regarding South Africa recently, and so on. But that's part of Trump's job, is to expose and identify the components of all these weeds. So, with the Page of Pentacles here, my feeling is that the challenge for Trump is that he's using all his talents and gifts and resources already, and he's realizing on a day-to-day basis that he's having to learn as he goes and figure things out as he goes, and the rest of the world is seeing that as like, oh, Donald Trump is just making up the script as he goes. Well, that's actually true. He's looking at the whole world, and he's got a very straightforward, very simple agenda. We have to rebalance the global economy in a way that's healthy again for America, so that it looks like this, a balanced economy, and the currency flows very smoothly and beautiful around the world in a way that's healthy, as opposed to one tyrannical monster like China and the rest of the world living under CBDCs and surveillance and a prison system. That's not going to happen. But it is a battle, because the weeds are very powerful, and the most powerful is China, and China's trying to take all that for itself. Trump is learning as he goes, but he's doing an incredibly good job. But it's a challenge, because like in terms of what we call three-dimensional time, for example, he is setting himself up with an enormous workload, an enormous schedule, an enormous agenda, the Make America Great Again. And like a lot of people say, hey, it's the economy, stupid. Yeah, we can talk about gender this or religious that, or Ukraine, Russia, or Israel, Iran, or whatever. But ultimately, what most people are concerned about is the frickin' money. So Donald Trump is focusing on the money. He's got a lot of other things to deal with, but at the core, it's about money. Not for the sake of it, but money is the representation of power and money and control. That's the Pluto aspect. So it's a hard job, but he's doing an astounding job of learning as he goes. It's very, very, very difficult. Luckily, he's surrounded himself with very, very good people. He is using the surround yourself with talent method of success, but still, he's ultimately the decider. He's the chief executive, and everything ultimately has to go through him. Okay, how is he going to move forward with all of this? It's a monumental challenge. Okay, before I look at it. Okay, there's another thing with the Page of Pentacles. This extends to the rest of the world, because what Donald Trump is doing affects the whole world. Every single person on this planet is going to be affected and is being affected, whether we like it or know it or not, by Donald Trump's behavior and his decisions to remake America according to its original factory settings. And so the Page of Pentacles here is also about the rest of the world struggling to learn and understand what the hell is going on. And it's just as difficult for them. And we're discovering that a lot of the rest of the world is having to learn as it goes as well. So how do we deal with all of this going forward? The Nine of Wands. Okay. So Donald Trump is very, very clearly aware that he has ended up being the one that has to deal with this. It's a monumental task, and it's been building up for decades. Decades, and all of these problems here are made by humans. Donald Trump feels it as external challenges. Okay, let's symbolize this as Donald. Donald is perfectly okay holding himself up, but it's on the understanding that there are these enormous challenges all out there, and they come in many different forms, different behaviors. Say, for example, China, Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, the Federal Reserve banking cartels, the European Union, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the Bank of International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and on and on and on. And then all the communist leaders, Xi Jinping, Ayatollah Khomeini, and so on and so on. All of these are basically man-made problems, human-made problems. And I believe they've occurred because we've allowed them to occur, because we are evolving as a species. And if we don't figure this stuff out, if someone like Donald Trump does not take the lead to figure this stuff out, we are doomed. So Donald Trump knows that. He's not just doing this for America. What this is indicating to me for Donald Trump is he's doing this for the whole fricking world. In some ways, he wishes he didn't have to, if he could just do it for America. But the reality is, he's doing it for the whole world. And that's how he's going to have to continue. And he cannot, and he will not remove himself from that incredible role, that incredible responsibility, that incredible burden of leadership and guidance and inspiration against multiple nefarious challenges. It's no wonder there's so much TDS across the world. It's no wonder a lot of the top pundits, including TDS people and including a lot of Donald Trump's top team and trustworthy media, they often mention that Donald Trump is the only person in the world who can do this. And I believe it's true. Donald, I'm praying for you because I'm a fan. I want this to work for the whole world, not just for America. It's a big, monstrous, long journey. It's going to take years. Look at this as look at this as yard work or gardening. And it's an absolute nightmare, but you have to start somewhere. And so you just start chipping away, pruning here, pruning there. That's what Donald Trump is doing. One day at a time. All right, that's your reading, Donald. I hope you get this and it's transmitted through the spiritual corridors and it lands on your desk. Thank you, Necessary Truth, by the way, for this. I'm so glad you put this idea out there, Necessary. I feel so honored to have done this reading, so privileged, and it's made me feel like useful. All right. All right, I'm going to clean this up afterwards. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you all have a super, super evening. And I wish I could go on for hours and get lots of free readings, but I can't handle it. So I'm inviting you to come visit over on the other platform, RUMBLE. It's TarotLumination. Go over there. I've been setting up this, like, mostly it's just evenings, like an hour or so, 50 minutes, an hour or so, where I go over my impressions about the astrology for the day and how I see the world through that lens. And then I just offer my opinions, okay? Anyway, yeah, so it's over there. All donations are very much welcome. Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves.